Hi, in this video I'm sharing about the concept of scheduling algorithm and explain two scheduling algorithm methods. So first of all, see the definitions of scheduling algorithms. So generally the scheduling algorithms are divided into two types. One is preemptive scheduling algorithm and another one is a non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. And preemptive scheduling algorithm means it allows a process to be interrupted in the middle of execution. That means here, while one process will be executing in the CPU, so for any cause, the process will stop its execution and give the chance for the another process. So this is means called as an preemptive scheduling algorithm. And the next one is non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So non-preemptive scheduling algorithm means, so if the process starts its execution in the CPU, so unless it completes its process execution only, it come out or it releases the CPU. That is non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So the definition of non-preemptive scheduling algorithm means once the CPU is allocated to the process, it keeps until the process terminates its execution. So this is non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. While comparing to these two, the preemptive scheduling algorithm is little bit complex than non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Here, the non-preemptive scheduling algorithm methods follows a FIFO-Q process. Okay. So generally, the preemptive scheduling and non-preemptive scheduling will be practically implemented based upon the different types. First one is FCFS, second SJF, third RR, next priority, and next one MFQ. So FCFS means first come first serve. The process which is allocated to the CPU, it will execute it first. That is first come first serve. Generally, the first come first serve is the best example for non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Now go for the second one, that is SJF. SJF means shortest job first. In this, the process which has the less CPU less service time, it will be executed in the CPU first. That means the CPU will select the process which has least service time among all the processes which are present in the ready queue. The shortest job first will become under non-preemptive algorithm or preemptive algorithm. Sometimes SJF will be acts as in preemptive, or sometimes it will be acts as in non-preemptive. And next one, RR. RR means round robin. So in this scheduling algorithm, the processes executions will be done in a circular fashion. That means here the process will be executed based upon time quantum. That means each and every process divides its execution period with a constant time period. Within this constant time period only the process will be executed. If the service time will be remaining, it will be executed in the second round. That means the process will be executed in a circular fashion. In a circular model, if the processes will be executed in the CPU, that will be called as a round robin. Next one is norm priority. Priority scheduling means, so here the round robin is purely preemptive scheduling algorithm because we are stops in the middle of execution. Now priority means here the process will be executed in the CPU by depending upon some basic priority levels. Here the priority may be the lowest priority or maybe the priority will be highest. It may consider the highest priority or lowest priority, and the execution of the process will be depends upon the priority levels. That is priority scheduling. It comes under a non-preemptive scheduling algorithm or preemptive scheduling algorithm. And MFQ. MFQ is multi-level feedback queue. The multi-level feedback queue is nothing but if the process will be executed in the queue order based upon the tile and next one head, if the process will be executed in the ready queue like this up to Pn, then for the moving of one process to another process, that means the locations when the process will be moving from one location to another location for the controlling, so we use the scheduling algorithm that is called as a multi-level feedback queue. Simply, multi-level feedback queue is a controller which is used when the process will be moving from one place to another place in the ready queue. That is multi-level feedback queue definition. Now let us see the first model, that is FCFS. In this video I show the two scheduling algorithm with examples. First one I am defining with the algorithm that is called as an FCFS algorithm. And here the FCFS algorithm, it is a very simplest method. In this method, the process which requests the CPU first, it will be allocated first for the execution. Here the process will be aligned in the form of an FIFO queue. That means the process will be must and should be arranged in the form of an queue, and the process which will be entered in the queue first, it will be executed first. Okay, after completion of the first process only, the second process will be executed in the CPU. So this is about FCFS. As we know earlier, the FCFS is purely non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Now let us see one example of FCFS, and in this example we calculate the scheduling criteria like waiting time, turnaround time and response time. So let us see the example. That is, we are consider the following set of process with the arrival time, the basic arrival time taken as an 0, with the length which will be called as an burst times. Here the time will be given in milliseconds. Now let us see, we are taking the example for 4 process. The 4 process will be P1, P2, P3 and P4, and I am taking how much time the process will be executed, that will be given as a burst time. Generally this burst time is also called as a service time. That means how much time the process will be executed in the CPU. That means how much time one process utilizing the CPU, that will be called as a service time or burst time. In the exam point of view, this table will be given. In the exams we have to calculate the waiting time and the turnaround time. If they ask, we have to calculate response time also. At the same time, in the exam point of view, generally it gives they give only the process and the service time. In the some question papers they ask about the arrival time. Here the arrival time also given, but here I am showing the with only the process and the burst time. For the second example I show service time also. Okay, so as in the given question they have given that the arrival time is taken as a 0. Okay, so further we have to consider wherever the arrival time will be there, we have to taken as a 0. Now let us go for the solution for this FCFS algorithm. So now for the first solution, we have to follow the different steps. In the first step, we have to draw the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart is nothing but what is the process flow. Okay, this process flow will be taken, how the process will be executed, that will be given in the form of an queue. The queue format will be called as a Gantt chart. So what is the given example? Let us take here the given in the first process service time will be 8. So initially what is the first when the we are considering that the process will be started at 0 time interval. So I am taken as in 0. At 0 time interval the process P1 will be started, and how much time it will be executed? It will be executed for 8 milliseconds. So here we are considering as in 8 milliseconds. Okay, so now we have to execute the second process P2. P2, what is the service time for the P2? P2 service time is 4. So we have to take the P2. Now how much already how much time it will be wait, how much process will be completed? 8. That means for the execution of P2, so it will wait for until the execution of P1. So P1 execution time is 8. So for this 8 we had to add the service time of P2. So that is 8 plus 4. So total service time of or total burst time of P2 will be called as a 12, because for the execution of P2 it is waited for some time. How much time it will be waited? Until the completion of P1. P1 completion time is 8. So 8 plus what is the completion time of P2? P2 completion time is 4. The completion time is nothing but burst time. So 8 plus 4, 2, 12. So that means for the execution of P2, so the time period is 12 milliseconds. Now we have to execute about P3. So for the P3 it will be waited for 12, and what is the burst time for the P3? P3 burst time is 9. So we have to add 12 plus 9. So what is the total completion time for the P3? Total completion time for the P3 is 12 plus 9, that is 21. Now we have to execute about P4. So P4 execution, for the execution of P4 it will wait for 21. So now for 21 we have to add the burst time of P4, that is 5. 21 plus 5, 26. That means for the execution of P4 the time period is 26. For the execution of P3 the time period is 21. For the execution of P2 the time period is 12, and for the execution of P1 the time period will be 8. Based upon these 4 values we have to calculate average time and next average waiting time and average turnaround time. Let us go for in the step 2 we go for the calculation of average waiting time for the process. So the formula for waiting time is simply the waiting time equal to starting time minus arrival time. Okay, so waiting time equal to starting time minus arrival time. Let us go for the calculation of waiting time. So remember one thing, we are always taken the arrival time as a 0. In the exam point of view, if they given the arrival time, we take those values. Okay, so now waiting time of P1. So waiting time of P1 is starting time of P1 when it will be started minus arrival time. When the P1 will be started, the P1 will be started at 0th time interval. So 0 minus 0. Arrival time is always 0, that is 0. Now waiting time of P2. So when the how much time the P2 will be waited? So until the completion of P1. So we have to take the leftmost element of P2 as in waiting time. So this is the waiting time. So we have to take 8, and arrival time always will be 0, and the value will be 8 minus 0, 8. Now P3. So P3 waiting time, how much time it will for the process execution of P3, how much time the P3 will be waited? So the P3 will be waited until the completion of P2. So for the completion of P2, how much time it will be taken? 12. So we have to take 12 as a starting time of P3 minus 0 and 12. Okay, and next one for P4. For the P4, how much time it will be waited? 21 milliseconds. For the completion of P3 we have to we consider as in 21. So for the process execution of P4 it will waits for 21 milliseconds, and here the 21 is a starting point for starting time for P4. So 21 minus the arrival time of always taken as in 0, 21. Okay, so remember one thing students. So here in the Gantt chart, the leftmost elements are starting time and the rightmost elements are completion time. Now let us calculate average waiting time. So average waiting time may be P1 waiting time is 0, and P2 waiting time is 8, and next P3 waiting time is 12, and P1 waiting time is 21, and we are having the 4 process, that is 4. What is the value we are having? 8 plus 12, 20, and next one 20 plus 21, 41, 41 by 4, the value of 41 by 4 is 10.25. Okay, 10.25. So this is average waiting time. Okay, hope you understand. See, once again please refer. Okay, now we have to calculate next step, that is calculation of turnaround time. So for the calculation of turnaround time, we have the formula, that is burst time plus waiting time. Burst time plus waiting time. So we know we have the values of waiting time and we have the values of burst time also. So what is the values of waiting burst times means? Let us see, first of all take the burst time values. So the burst time of P1, so the burst time of P1 is 8. Next, burst time of P2, here we are having the burst time of P2, burst time of P3, burst time of P4. That means P1 burst time is 8, P2 burst time is 4, P3 burst time is 9, P4 burst time is 5. And we have the waiting times here. So we calculate waiting times also. The waiting time for each and every process is, the waiting time of P1 is 0, the waiting time of P2 is 8, the waiting time of P3 is 12, the waiting time of P4 is 21. Okay, let us add these two. So dear students, here observe that the waiting time of P1 is 0, the waiting time of P2 is 8, the waiting time of P3 is 12, the waiting time of P4 is 21. Okay, so now we have to add the both service times and next one waiting time for the calculation of turnaround time. So 8 plus 0, 8, 4 plus 8, that is 12, 12 plus 9, that is 21, 21 plus 5, that is 26. If you observe these values, so in the Gantt chart, the rightmost elements of each process, P1 8, P2 12, P3 21, P4 26. If you observe here, P1 8, P2 12, P3 21, P4 26. So the rightmost elements are turnaround time. So for that, so let us calculate average turnaround time. 8 plus 12 plus 21 plus 26 by 4. We are having the 4 process. Okay, 8 plus 12 20, 20 plus 21, that is 41, and 41 plus 26, that is 67. So 67 by 4. 67 by 4, what is the average? Average is 16.75. The average of 67 by 4 is 16.75. Okay, so this is the calculation of turnaround time. Turnaround time of P1 is burst time plus waiting time. The burst time of P1 is 8. In the given question they came, and the waiting time is 0. P2 burst time is 4 and the waiting time is 8. 4 plus 8, 12. Turnaround time of P3. P3 burst time is 9 and waiting time is 12. The value is 21. And P4 5. Burst time is 5 and waiting time is 21. The value is 26. So now for the calculation of this, adding by these 4 values, we get the sum is 67. And 67 by 4, average is 16.75. Okay, so this is about turnaround time. Let us go for the last one, the calculation of arrival time. So calculation of response time. The response time is nothing but first responses minus arrival time. So here we are not getting any delay in the given question. So first response time is always taken as in starting time. At which point of time the process will be started. Okay, that is called first response time. So actually response time is nothing but first, for example, if we are allocated one process to be executed, if this process allocation time is 8 millisecond, For example, if this particular process may delay for 1 millisecond, and if it start after 1 millisecond, that means if it will start 9 millisecond, then the response time of P1 will be defined as a 9 millisecond, okay, because it will be delayed for 1 millisecond, okay. That is called as an response time. But in our given question we are not taken as we are not given for any process of delay times, so we are taking the starting time as in first response time, okay. So first response minus arrival time, so it is almost taken as only waiting time. It is simply calculated, or it will be simply defined as a waiting time. So the formula for response time is first response minus arrival time. We are taking the first response as in starting time. So P1 value is, it will be started at 0 and the arrival time is 0, so 0, and the P2 starting time is 8, so arrival time is 0, 8. P3 starting time is 12 and the arrival time is 0, 12. P4 starting time is 21 and the arrival time is 0, hence 21. Average response time is 0 plus 8 plus 12 plus 21 by 4. The total value is 41 by 4 and total value is 10.25. This is average response time. It is almost same as in waiting time. So that's why we are not consider the response time in all examples, okay. Finally, let us take one table for all the calculation part, okay. So here the process P1, P2, P3, P4, and in the given question their burst times is 8, 4, 9, 5, and what is the what are the waiting times? For the P1 the waiting time is 0, and for the P2 the waiting time is 8. For the P2 the waiting time is 8. For the P3 the waiting time is 12. For the P4 the waiting time will be 21. And coming to the turnaround times, for the P1 the turnaround time is 8, and for the P2 the turnaround time is 12. For the P3 the turnaround time is 21. For the P4 the turnaround time is 26. The response time is same as waiting time, 0, 8, 12, 21, and the average waiting time is 10.25 and average turnaround time is 16.75. Average response time is 10.25, okay. So for your once again I am showing the Gantt chart for each process finally. So P1, P2, P3 and P4. P1 started 0 and the burst time is 8, so simply we are 8 here. The P2 burst time is 4. For this 4 we had to add 8 plus 4, 12, and for P3 service time is 9, we have to add 9 for this 12, 21, and for the P4 the service time or the burst time is 5, we have to add 5 to 21. So if you observe that the rightmost elements are turnaround times, the leftmost elements are waiting times, okay. So simply write in this format also. In the exam point of view, simply write the table and the Gantt chart also. But if you calculate like this, you may get good marks while compared to this table, okay. Hope. And here I am showing another example, same example, but taking the arrival time, the same example P1 8, 4, 9, 5 with the arrival time 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you observe that P1 8, P3 12, the same Gantt chart will be same, but here there is a chance of changing the waiting times because we are adding arrival times here, okay. So here waiting time of P1 is 0, waiting time of P2 is 7 because the arrival time will be given as 1. So 8 minus 1, 7, P3 arrival, P3 waiting time is starting time minus arrival time. Formula is starting time minus arrival time. So these are the starting values, the leftmost elements 0, 8, 12, 21, 0, 8, 12, 21, and arrival times are 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 0 minus 0, 0. For the P2, 8 minus 1, 7. For P3, 8, 12 minus 2, 10. For P4, 21 minus 3, 18. So for the average, we get 8.75. If you observe, there the average is 10.25. Here the average is 8.75. That means if you add the arrival times, the average will be less than. This is the example for turnaround time. So turnaround time means burst time plus waiting time. So we are having the burst time values changes here, waiting time values changes here. 0, 7, 10 and 18 are the waiting times here. Observe that these are the waiting times. And turnaround time values 8, burst time values 8, 4, 9, 5. If you add 8 plus 0, 8, 4 plus 7, 11, 9 plus 10, 19, 5 plus 18, 23. And if you add all these values, we get 61 by 4. And this, the value will be here. 61 by 4 is 15.25. So there the average will be 67 by 4. We get the value 16.75. Okay. So this is. Okay. Hope you understand. Just I am showing all these problem once again. Just clearly observe. Gantt chart and waiting time. Formula is starting time minus arrival time, and here the values are, and average waiting time is. Now calculation of turnaround time. Formula is this one, and calculation part is this one, and average turnaround time is response time. The formula is first response minus arrival time, and the calculation of response time for the P1, for P2, average, and this is the grand table for placing all the values here, and the example problem another with arrival time. So these are the arrival times. Gantt chart. First waiting time. Okay. Hope you understand about FCFS algorithm. In the next video, I show SJF algorithm and priority scheduling algorithm. Finally, I show another video with round robin. Thank you.